Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you're well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Crazy Bad 9429 from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit, and it says, am I the arsehole here for wanting to break up with my girlfriend when she said she wanted to keep things casual 8 months ago and now wants to move in with her kids? I, 34 male, have been seeing this woman, 41 female, for the past 8 months or so now. She was just getting out of a messy divorce and wanted something casual and fun. I told her I wasn't looking for anything serious either and made clear I never wanted kids because I knew she had 2 daughters in high school. We've had effortless chemistry, but we've never gotten more serious over the time of our relationship. A few days ago, she brought up the idea of her and her kids moving into my place. I figured because I live on the beach, she just wanted an upgraded lifestyle. But then she brought up how the town I live in has a much better public school system than the one she's living in now. She's super sweet and I've met her daughters, and they seem very nice, but I'm like, what the fuck? How do we go from a casual relationship to moving in and me becoming a stepdad overnight? I don't see a path that involves me saying how I felt and her just accepting things how they are. I feel like if a woman wants to move in with you, you're beyond the casual stage. She's even joked a couple of times recently about how she knows she can't give me anything I don't already have, but she can always give me a cute baby. Shake my head. Like I said, she's really nice, but this is just way too much all at once. And look, absolutely not the arsehole in this situation. It just comes across as one of those situations we see where people want different things and they're not on the same page anymore about where the relationship is heading. At the start, you both agreed on being very casual, no kids, no serious commitment, just fun. But now it just seems like she wants a bit more from the relationship. She's obviously gotten more into you and wants more, which, you know, isn't wrong per se, but if you're not into it, then a conversation needs to happen saying basically that, and then you can both make your decisions from there. But Impressive Food said to the OP, time to have a serious conversation. You two are already clearly not on the same page regarding the relationship. Jew Investigator says agreed, no point dragging things out when it's clear they need to communicate and figure out where they stand. No University says dragging it out just builds resentment. Clear talk now saves everyone from a bigger mess later. Capital Ad says, she's clearly not coping well with her divorce and perhaps using OP as an emotional rock to stand on. A discussion about what kind of relationship they have moving forward needs to happen. If OP is uncomfortable with the speed or decisions, then a step back is needed. So OP did come in with that update and says, just want to start off by saying I appreciate all the advice and support from my last post. I told the woman that I was seeing that I couldn't continue on with her and that the idea of her moving in with her teenage daughters after 8 months of casual dating was too much, too soon. She was pissed and went on and on about how I wasn't a good guy and that I used her and all that. I just hung up after a while and blocked her. On one hand, I feel like an arsehole for dumping her out of the blue, from her perspective, but I honestly feel relieved. I think she was hoping I'd get her pregnant. After thinking about it more, I realized, how could I possibly be with someone long term who wanted to move in with me with her 2 teenage daughters after a casual relationship for 8 months? I met her daughters in passing just once, and she wants to move them in with us. I think I dodged a bullet, but still feel a bit bad. She's gorgeous and fun, but a bit dangerous too, I suspect. Lol. Commenter says to OP, seems like you dodged a bullet. Usual Canary says several bullets fired from an Uzi held by someone with poor motor skills aiming in OP's direction. Apprehensive War says well done. It was not out of the blue. You never need a reason to end the relationship, but as you keep saying, this relationship was casual, and you told her precisely why it would not work. Her judgment is trash. You should never move your children into a home with a man they do not know after 8 months. You may be a good guy, but a mother would never take that sort of chance. Anything could happen to her girls. I'm willing to bet she's losing her place or has some financial difficulties happening and was looking for a way out. Or she's just crazy. Not the arsehole. Oof, and perhaps the comments were right on this one. A bullet dodged indeed. But what do you guys make of today's first story. Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's have another one, shall we? Now, before we do get into our next story, there is a trigger warning on it of ableism, so if you do want to skip the story, please feel free to do so. Timestamps are always down in the description and along the timeline below. Thank you. It's from the Am I Overreacting subreddit from Mermaid for Life 96 and says, "Am I overreacting? Thinking about breaking up with my fiance due to how he treats my special needs sister. Would like to know if I'm being overdramatic or overreacting. I'm 29 years old. And my fiance is also 29. We've known each other since 2015 because he attends the same religious church as me. We started dating in 2022 and he proposed to me February of this year. We have plans to get married in October. He's an only child and I have one little sister who has some special needs. With me being an only sibling to my little sister who is 19, if something were to happen to my parents and when they can no longer care for her, she'll be living with me. She's not severely disabled. She has Down syndrome and a low IQ. She's very independent though. She can walk, talk, eat, shop, do a lot of life skills on her own with minimal assistance. She's just very vulnerable and isn't aware of safety. My fiance is fully aware of the circumstances regarding our future and has accepted her living with us. It becomes a topic a lot since we're also considering having our own kids. So, not all of the time, but sometimes when my fiance and I go out, I include my sister. I do respite for my sister and I get paid to do respite for her. Again, my fiance has always been acceptable with me including her when we hang out. We went out yesterday and I included my sister. My whole night felt ruined because of him. We went out to eat and my sister was trying to order. He kept rushing her when she was stuttering a bit. I didn't make a scene and kept silent due to not wanting to make a scene. We went to the mall next to shop at my sister and I's favorite store. My fiance stayed out of the store, which was fine because this store is aimed towards women. When we got done with shopping and my little sister was showing him what she got, he didn't say anything and didn't even show any interest. I confronted him a bit and made a rude remark saying, "God forbid me not caring about your sister's fragrances." Our last stop was Target. I had to get some things and I had my sister help with scanning things. He seemed annoyed and told me that she needs to speed things up because this is awkward. Mind you, there wasn't even a line and multiple of the self-checkouts were open. When he dropped me off at home yesterday, I didn't even say anything. As much as I want us to grow together, I can't be with someone who belittles my sister. Do I have the right to be upset? OP mentioned early in the post that fiance is fully aware of the circumstances regarding the future and has accepted her living with us. And also, this is, OP mentioned it's become a topic a lot since they're considering having their own children. So it's something that's talked about frequently. In some ways, it sounds like he hasn't thought about it at all. Just went, yeah, okay. And just not thought about it. It's really weird. But if I was in OP's position, I'd be fuming. Rushing her, dismissing her, and including her in basic activities and saying that's awkward. I think now's the time to look at what your future is going to look like, because we see it time and time again in these stories that this behavior only gets worse after marriage and not better once the feet are under the table and everything's normalized. The fact that he's saying he's accepted, that sister's going to be a big part of your lives, he clearly hasn't. And don't get me wrong, I get it, caregiving is difficult, but dealing with it in this way, punishing someone with it, is fucking awful. First commenter says to OP, "I can emphasize with both of you here. I had a niece with special needs and it can be a lot, so I can't blame anyone for not being ready to have that in their life. But it's important for him to respectfully say, 'I'm sorry, I'm not ready for that,' instead of lying to you to keep his romantic access. To put it overly politely. Huge red flag. Try to work it out with him if you want, but for the sake of the kids, don't have this man's kids. Being a parent requires way more patience than he's shown he's capable of, and you just know if one of them is disabled, he'll blame you and your family's genes." Opie says his mother actually asked my parents about our gene pool when we went out with his parents one time, but said afterwards that she would love her grandchild regardless, so I just let that one go. Commenter says, "I'm confused about what was awkward at Target. Her in general, her speed while checking items, or a lack thereof. Either way, I'd be offended and feel protective of her because I can't see his perspective about either being valid. I'm sorry he was mean to you and towards her. The term red flag exists for this reason. Continue the engagement, but be very aware of what and how he says things. If you continue to see red flags, make the hard choice sooner than later. OP says, I was having her scan items because it's a goal she works on since she gets state services for her intellectual disability. We had a full cart and it was taking a little longer than usual to finish because she would accidentally scan something twice, so the staff was kind of hanging close around with us in case we needed assistance. I think he low-key feels embarrassed just by our presence and feels like we're being stared at. A downvoted commenter said, yeah, this reads like you treat your 19-year-old sister like she is 9, and you take her out on dates with the two of you. And it doesn't sound like it was something he enjoyed either. OP, I'ma be real. You are not her parent. You are a sister, and if you don't nip this in the bud, this will not be the only relationship with a guy you're involved with ending. OP says she has serious intellectual disabilities. She's not a typical 19-year-old, and I apologize if that bothers you that I treat her of the age of her mentality. I also mentioned that I don't always include her on our date nights. It's a once-a-month thing with her tagging along. I know I'm not her parent, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with caring for her once in a while. It takes a village supporting a special needs family member. Gee whiz, that last comment is absolute dog shit about, oh, if you don't nip this in the bud, this will not be the only relationship with a guy you're involved with ending. I mean, OP said very early on about the situation, about the future. She wants someone who's going to be a part of that. Not for her to have to hide her sister to keep a relationship. But a week later, OP comes in with an update and said, I posted on here a few days ago regarding my fiance and my special needs little sister. Some people wanted an update. After posting about it, reading most of the comments and doing deep thinking, I decided to cut ties with him last Sunday. It was one of the most hardest things that I've had to do because we've had our future planned out and he was my first relationship. Family will always come first for me, and I'm not going to be with someone who is an ableist, especially when him and I can end up with a disabled child someday, because muscular dystrophy does run in my family. As far as my future, I'm a pediatric registered nurse, so I'm going to keep focusing on my career. I have a savings account set up, so I'm planning on applying for an apartment very soon. I'm also going on a Bohemian cruise in October that was supposed to be our honeymoon, but I'll be going with my best friend instead. So I'm ecstatic for that. I'm going to keep living my life as best as I can and not dwell over a relationship that obviously wasn't meant to be. For the few people who made comments such as that, I'm going to end up single because no one wants the package that I come with. Just know that I see ableism in you and you might want to humble yourselves because anyone can become disabled respectfully. On the back of this, someone did ask OP, how did the ex take the news of the breakup? OP said, it went pretty sour, but I expected it because he has a pretty short temper. Red flag, which is crazy to admit because we are both a part of the LDS church. A little context, so before officially breaking up, on Saturday we went out because I really wanted to get down to the root of the problem on why he was so disgusted by my sister. He started gaslighting me and making me feel like it was a me issue. That's when I knew it wasn't going to work. And on Saturday, I had him come over to my house and I told him that we're done. He started crying and apologizing. Then he turned into a hothead and demanded the ring back and everything that I owned that he brought for me. Crazy, right? Mind you, this happened at my parents' house where I'm currently living. They were already aware of his behavior. When he demanded everything back and refused to leave my bedroom, I just texted my mum for help because it was the first time he showed genuine rage at me. And I didn't want to get physically hurt. My dad, who is a retired cop, came up and told him to leave. Someone said OP should give the ring back to her ex, and OP says the ring I absolutely did give back, but clothes that I own and have worn multiple times, car keys that he had insisted to replace when I lost mine in the past, and other petty things like that I refused to just give back. And the last commenter says, taking responsibility for a special needs sibling is not for everyone. But you clearly have decided it's best for you. Good for you for being an awesome sister. It was very smart of you to leave him. You were clear about your plans from the start and he should have never pursued a relationship with you if he wasn't comfortable with your sister being a part of your lives. Absolutely dodged a bullet in that situation, and good on OP for breaking up with this person, because I really believe that would have got worse, if they did get married. And people telling OP that, she's going to be single forever or whatever. Absolute bullshit. OP is a lovely, amazing, empathetic person. And I'm sure one day she will find the right person for her that respects the family situation as well. But good on OP for going on that cruise with a best friend, and I hope they have an absolutely amazing time. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And let's move on to another story. Our next story comes from Princessprotect from the Am I the Arsehole Here subreddit. And it says, Am I the Arsehole Here for calling out my husband for changing up the rules in our open marriage? I, 35 female, am in an open relationship with my husband, 36 male. It was over the summer he mentioned it to me. I wouldn't say I was totally for it, but it took some getting used to. Not everything is going great, but recently my husband keeps changing the rules. Once I started dating Evan, 45 male, that's when he started acting differently. My husband and I agreed on a don't ask, don't tell policy, but keeps pestering me about the details of our relationship. I gave him a little here and there, but never the explicit stuff. Everything positive I mention about Evan, he downplays or critiques. Last week, I planned a date with Evan and asked him to watch the kids. He agreed. He was to get back home by 9, but texted me to say he's doing overtime that night. I was left scrambling for a sitter at the last minute. This isn't the first time he has done this. Luckily, this time I got a hold of a sitter, but I could not stay as long as I was hoping for. Afterwards, he acted as if everything was okay. He began policing me when I left the house and began picking my outfits apart, expressing concern about how the neighbors would perceive me. To avoid conflict, I started wearing jackets to cover up before heading out. Then came the issue of Evan dropping me off. He worried about the neighbors seeing a strange car pull up at night. This forced me to do lunch dates. It wasn't a bother. I'd bring my laptop to Evan's and work at his place. However, I preferred the dinner dates because I got a chance to dress up more. Changing up the times seemed to alleviate some tension, but I still feel like I was compromising too much. He didn't even want me to drive to dates, but when Evan pays for an Uber or drops me off, it's an issue. It makes no sense. The breaking point was when Evan sent flowers to the house. My husband lost it, claiming it's dangerous for a strange man to know our address when we have kids inside. I will say he was right about this. I did drop the ball, however. He insisted that I shouldn't bring home any gifts at all going forward, arguing it violated our don't ask, don't tell rule. He used to joke about me not getting chivalry in my open relationship, and now that I'm getting dates, it's a big deal. I asked him if he doesn't take the women he sleeps with on dates, and he said no, it's strictly sex and none of that lovey-dovey bullshit that I'm doing. I confronted my husband about these rules, and he just brushed it off like it was nothing, saying it's just a respect thing. I was really enjoying this, but he's sucking the fun out of it, and it just feels highly stressful. It's following the same lines that we usually see in these open relationship stories. I'm no expert. I wouldn't be able to do something like this. It would drive me mad, but it feels like the classic that, I thought I wanted an open marriage until my wife actually started enjoying it at the same time. And the typical signs are all there, moving the goalposts on your rules and your boundaries, sabotaging your childcare arrangements, comments about your appearance and on your schedule. And the first comment comes in similar, saying your husband wanted to have a wife and still sleep with whoever he liked. He didn't want that for you. Come on now. Surely you realize that. Clack says, to me, it seems like husband wanted no strings attached sex with people other than his wife without any of the emotions that come with either an additional girlfriend or hurting his wife. However, wife found someone who respects and appreciates her and isn't using her like a hole, like how husband is doing his part of the open relationship. So I think this is extra incensing for him. He's emotionally removing himself just to get extra pussy. She found someone who will put up with the weird rules and treat her well. It's not just the sex, it's that she's getting treated well. Mai says, yeah, not everyone can enjoy sex with random one-night strangers. Clearly that's not her bag, and he should have known that. Or maybe he did, and that's why he thought it would all fall into place nicely for him. Maybe he thought he could have it all while she was at home not sleeping with anyone else. Dapper says, not the arsehole. Question: does your husband actually hook up with other women? Reading between the lines, I wouldn't be surprised if things weren't working out for him. If this is going to work, you can't just agree to don't ask, don't tell and call it a day. Rules have to be in place. If you only want sexual relationships outside of the marriage without emotional intimacy, that's a fine rule if you agree to it. It's also fine to change the rules after they've been established, but that should be based on a conversation where everyone is on the same page. He shouldn't be able to change or establish the rules on his own and get mad that you haven't been following them. Opie says, I think he does. He dresses up on the weekend to go out and comes in late. We both agreed to emotional intimacy, one night stands or casual. It's just the nitpicking that's too much. I don't mind having a discussion, but when I'm met with, it's not that serious, that's when I get pissed. And the final comment says, you need to see this for what it is. He opened the marriage without understanding that it meant you'd be going on dates too. He never wanted the rules to be fair, so starting from that premise is only going to get him subverting any discussions. He just thought about all the fun he would be having. Now he is treating you like shit because he can't stand what is good for the gander is good for the goose. You need to bottom line it for him. Open marriages are not easy to maintain. Most couples can't handle it. The only way to handle it is to set clear rules and follow them. One thing I will say is that your partner needs to be your primary. So if you are both putting all your efforts into getting laid outside of the relationship, you will trash the marriage. You need regular date nights and check-ins, etc. It also takes a lot of trust and respect for your partner. In other words, you need to put the work into your marriage to make it work, open or closed. There is plenty of literature out there on how to make this work if you really want to, but it is work. Opening a marriage isn't a quick release valve to save a marriage for people who aren't good in communicating and take their spouse for granted. So it was 9 months after this one that Opie did come in with an update and said, you guys were right. This was a shit show. I'm not sure where to start, but we are actually getting a divorce. He in fact did not change and became way more possessive and controlling while changing the rules. Everything I did was either wrong or inconsiderate. Evan had planned a week trip to Cabo to celebrate a new business venture. I asked my husband if he was okay with it weeks in advance. He enthusiastically agreed, mentioning I deserved the trip. He even told me to make sure I flood his phone with pics. I told him I was going to stay with Evan the night before for easier commute. He insisted on taking me to the airport instead, since it was our last night until Tuesday. However, when it was time to leave, he overslept. Despite urging him to get up to the point that I pulled the covers off and turned off the air, he spent an entire hour in the bathroom. Then, to make matters worse, he didn't fill the tank. I told him the evening before. I called an Uber, which was another hour late, but luckily I got to enjoy my trip. I let it slide and move on. Boy, oh boy, I wish I never went on that trip because things got worse. It's like I was being punished for the trip. It became incredibly invasive in my personal relationships. He wanted to know what my sex life with Evan was like, if he was better, etc. He used to play it off like it's not a big deal to him. Then I caught him snooping through my phone. It was too much. I didn't understand because Evan was no longer the only man I was seeing, but Evan triggered him the most. If that wasn't enough, he had his friends over for boys' night. I was getting ready for girls' night. Before I left, he said out loud, "You're really gonna leave me to go fuck him," in front of his friends. The embarrassment and humiliation I felt, even typing this. I just sat in my car and cried so much, and that's when I knew it was done. He apologized, mentioned he was drunk. I didn't buy it one bit. He's never acted like this. His open relationship has left me drained mentally and emotionally, and it wasn't even my idea to begin with. I've filed for divorce, but he keeps begging for reconciliation, but I can't. Before anyone comments, I know you told me so. Sigh. Commenter says, he didn't want an open marriage. He wanted your permission to sleep with others while you were not allowed the same. Not the arsehole then or now. Enjoy yourself. Another commenter says this, not the arsehole. Opie, if he ever says anything in front of people again, call him out and say he was the one who wanted to open the relationship. Your husband wanted to sleep around and didn't realize you'd be having fun too. Commenter says, I also wonder if it's not working out for him as much as he hoped it would. Previous commenter replies saying, yeah, He probably slept with whoever he wanted to sleep with, and it wasn't as great as he thought, and he isn't getting as many girls as he thought he would. And Boo Boo says, isn't that how these stories usually go? Husband demands open marriage so he can screw around, discovers that he's not that attractive, and women aren't lining up to be with them, while their wives are picking up guys right and left. Then demands their wife stop meeting others, and the wives meanwhile have found there are much better men out there than the arseholes they married and filed for divorce. Now, as always, usually from the title on these posts, the open marriage, as soon as you see it in that title, you know how it's going to go. I'm not saying that about all open marriages. There's clearly many in the world that is working. They're just not coming to these particular subreddits to tell us how good their open relationship is working, right? Usually see the worst in these situations, but I know myself, I certainly wouldn't be able to deal with something like that. Holy moly. But what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. Now, just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So really, thank you so much for being here today, getting involved, liking, sharing everywhere on social media and stuff. It really does help out the channel, and I can never thank you enough for what you do. Hopefully, I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care, and much love.
Wake up, get up, stretch my legs, eat some breakfast, milk and eggs, brush my teeth up, wash my face, throw my clothes on, start my day. Wake up, I can smell the smoke from the bacon.